You think trusting easily proves you are pure. It actually marks you as prey. Every time you give trust without testing, someone silently updates your psychological file. If you keep ignoring this pattern, disappointment will feel normal instead of alarming. Trust feels like a warm shortcut. Your mind loves shortcuts because they save energy. When you trust fast, your brain stops scanning for danger. It relaxes too early. You feel connection, safety, and relief, so you forget to check for real consistency. This is the first trap. Pleasant emotions arrive before accurate information about someone. Your nervous system is trained to prefer comfort over clarity. Comfort feels immediate. Clarity often comes with discomfort, questions, and slow observation, so your mind resists it. Manipulators understand this bias very well. They offer comfort first, clarity never. They know if they can make you feel seen quickly, you will not investigate deeply. You learned early that trusting people makes you good, kind, and supportive. You were probably praised when you believed easily and forgave quickly. Your brain stored a rule: if I trust fast, I am a good person. This rule becomes dangerous when applied automatically, without context, without boundaries, without testing. Dark psychology explains this as conditioning. Repeated emotional rewards build invisible habits. Each time someone praised your soft heart, your brain linked trust with identity. Now you do not protect trust because you think protecting it means becoming cold. So you choose pain again and again, just to avoid feeling like a bad person. People often summarize Machiavelli with an idea like this: if you must choose between being blindly liked or being safely respected, choose safety first. The point is not cruelty. The point is protection of position and energy. When you trust everyone, you surrender your position before understanding the game. You signal that your boundaries are open, your filters are weak, your standards negotiable. Based on Bandura and social learning ideas, people repeat what they see rewarded. If your world rewarded innocence and punished healthy suspicion, you absorbed that pattern deeply. You saw trust get applause, you saw doubt get judgment, so your mind chose applause. This silent training still runs your reactions now, even when your reality has changed completely. Manipulators scan for this training faster than you scan for their behavior. They watch how you react to small kindness, small compliments, small apologies. If your face softens instantly, they mark you as emotionally available without resistance. If you share private details quickly, they mark you as low filter, high access. Notice how they test your trust with tiny experiments: a small broken promise, a small delay. They watch if you explain their behavior for them before they say anything. If you protect their image inside your mind, they know you will protect it outside too. This gives them permission to repeat the pattern, each time a little deeper, a little sharper. The disappointment you feel again and again is not random bad luck. It is the predictable outcome of an unprotected trust system, running on old programming. Your brain still believes, if I keep trusting, one day someone will prove me right. So it tolerates red flags, excuses behavior, stretches patience, and translates disrespect as misunderstanding. Dark psychology talks about value dilution. Something becomes cheaper when it is available without effort. When you give trust instantly, your value drops in the eyes of selfish minds. They did not earn access, so they do not fear losing it, they feel no urgency. You become an emotional open door, always available, rarely respected, often postponed and sidelined. There is another effect. Your own self-image becomes attached to being constantly forgiving. You start saying things like, "This is just how I am, I always give chances." You wear your pain like proof of goodness, instead of using it as data for change. Every new disappointment then reinforces a dangerous belief: I am meant to be hurt. Silent manipulators love this belief because it keeps you away from strategic distance. They know you will blame yourself, your softness, your destiny, never their deliberate pattern. They will sometimes even admire your heart verbally to keep your identity attached to suffering. Compliments become a leash. Each sweet word tightens your attachment to an unfair dynamic. You rarely notice another hidden layer: the fear of loneliness. Many people trust fast because they are terrified of emotional emptiness. Empty space feels heavier than bad company, so they accept disrespect over silence. Manipulators sense this hunger. They serve attention as if it were love, carefully rationed. To break this pattern, you must question your private definition of trust. You may think trust means, I close my eyes and hope for the best. A healthier definition is different. I keep my eyes open and still choose connection. Trust without observation is fantasy. Trust with observation is strategy, and strategy protects value. Start by slowing down your yes, not by becoming cruel, but by becoming precise. Instead of asking, do I feel comfortable, ask, do their behavior and words match consistently? Instead of thinking, I do not want to lose them, think, do they deserve deeper access? This single shift moves you from emotional begging to emotional evaluation, from prey to chooser. You can still be kind, but your kindness does not need to be blind. You can still be open, but your openness does not need to be instant. You can still believe in good people, while accepting that not everyone earns your trust. The secret is simple yet heavy. You are allowed to interview behavior before offering loyalty. The question that remains is sharp and uncomfortable. Will you keep giving untested trust as a gift to everyone? Or will you finally treat your trust as a rare currency that only disciplined minds can earn? You think people value your pure intentions. They actually measure your boundaries first. You assume trust creates connection, but trust without filters creates silent permission for misuse. You believe good energy attracts good behavior, but unguarded trust attracts strategic opportunists. Your mind wants shortcuts to understanding others. It hates long evaluation. It wants to decide fast because uncertainty feels like internal noise. So it grabs small signs, quick gestures, early friendliness, and treats them as deep truth. This is not intuition. This is emotional impatience disguised as connection. Trust becomes dangerous when it replaces observation instead of supporting it. When someone gives you attention, your brain lights up in reward mode instantly. Dopamine tells you this person is safe, even without evidence of safety. This is why repeated disappointment feels shocking. You trusted the reward, not the reality. Dark psychology describes a concept called psychological mirroring. People reflect your hopes back to you, so you lower your guard faster. They copy your tone, your pace, your preferences, your emotional rhythm. You believe the match is natural, but the match is constructed to gain access. Machiavelli expressed an idea many summarize like this: if someone wants quick trust, they hide slow intentions. Meaning is simple. Urgency in connection is often a mask for hidden benefit. True respect grows slowly with consistency. Fake respect grows instantly with performance. You rarely question fast trust because it feels flattering, not alarming. Most people do not realize that trust is a currency and a weapon. When placed in the wrong hands, it becomes a lever for emotional control. They can influence your mood with a single message and break it with a single silence. You think it is sensitivity, but it is dependency created by unearned emotional access. Bandura once explained something like this: people learn patterns by watching consequences. If you keep trusting people who break you, your brain learns that broken trust is normal. You slowly accept unpredictability as part of connection, which destroys your standards silently. This acceptance makes you tolerate behavior you would never advise others to tolerate. Manipulators do not target your strength, they target your hope. They observe what you wish someone would finally give you. If you crave respect, they show respect at the beginning. If you crave stability, they offer stability in the start. Then they slowly subtract what they once gave, knowing you will chase the memory of it. You blame yourself when this happens because you think trust must be unconditional. But unconditional trust is not purity, it is emotional exposure. Trust must be conditional, renewable, and based on repeated behavior, not temporary kindness. You are allowed to require consistency before giving vulnerability. You might not notice the second trap. You explain negative behavior as misunderstanding. You rewrite their intention in your mind to protect your emotional investment. You say things like, maybe they are stressed, maybe they forgot, maybe they did not mean it. Your mind defends them, because defending them feels easier than losing them. Every time you rewrite a red flag, your trust becomes cheaper. Every time you minimize disrespect, your value becomes negotiable. Every time you protect someone against your own instincts, you weaken your own protection system. Slowly, you teach people exactly how to treat you with minimal effort. Dark psychology reveals another bias. We trust those who create emotional intensity early. Anyone who can affect your mood quickly gains psychological authority over you. You confuse impact with importance, intensity with trustworthiness. This is why people you barely know can hurt you deeply, because you elevated them too fast. The real danger is this: you call it betrayal, but they call it opportunity. Your disappointment is their benefit, your patience is their strategy. Your repeated forgiveness is their repeated access. They operate like a system, not like a mistake. You think pulling back makes you cruel, but it makes you conscious. You think questioning intentions makes you negative, but it makes you strategic. You think slowing trust makes you lonely, but it actually filters out emotional threats. Trust is not kindness, trust is currency, and high currency demands high criteria. Now the question twists deeper and sharper. What happens when you finally stop trusting instantly, and people realize they can no longer enter your mind without earning their place? You think protecting your trust will push people away, but it actually reveals who deserves closeness. You fear that caution makes you cold, yet blind trust makes you disposable to the wrong minds. You believe disappointment comes from fate, but it comes from patterns you never questioned. Your brain forms trust using emotional shortcuts, not rational evaluation. It uses past memories, old praise, childhood conditioning, and familiar behavior. If someone resembles earlier comfort, your mind activates trust automatically. This automatic trust feels natural, but it is only recycled programming, not real judgment. Dark psychology explains that humans follow emotional scripts without noticing. These scripts dictate who you trust, how fast you bond, and how long you tolerate harm. A manipulator only needs to identify your script, not your entire personality. Once they see your pattern, they offer a custom-fit version of safety. You mistake emotional similarity for genuine reliability. You think shared interests equal shared values. You believe soft tone equals safe intention. You treat surface alignment as proof of deep integrity. This mismatch becomes the root of repeated disappointment. Machiavelli once broke down a truth like this: trust given without testing invites betrayal without guilt. People respect what they must earn, not what you hand over freely. When trust comes too quickly, it loses psychological weight. When it carries no cost, it carries no meaning. You rarely realize how nonverbal behavior influences your trust decisions. A warm smile, steady eye contact, or confident posture can disarm your natural caution. Your mind interprets these signals as proof of good character, even when they are strategic. A manipulator uses body language as an entrance pass into your emotional space. Bandura once highlighted something similar: your reactions follow the rewards you have seen others receive. If kindness made you accepted, you repeat kindness compulsively. If trust made you appreciated, you repeat trust automatically. You do not choose these patterns, you simply continue them. This continuation creates a blind spot. You see people as you wish they were. You project sincerity onto them because sincerity lives inside you. You assign purity to their intentions because purity shapes your own values. You judge others based on your emotional blueprint, not their actual behavior. This projection keeps you trapped in cycles you cannot decode. You trust because you hope, not because they proved anything. You stay because you remember early kindness, not current consistency. You forgive because you fear the silence that might replace them. Another hidden pattern is repetition trust. Your brain trusts what feels familiar, even if familiar was unhealthy. You seek the same emotional rhythm you grew up around. If inconsistency was normal in your past, it becomes comfortable in your present. Comfort replaces safety, and you confuse instability with intensity. Manipulators spot this confusion instantly. They alternate between attention and distance to match your familiar emotional rhythm. Your mind recognizes the pattern as something it already understands. So you feel connected, even when you are being psychologically conditioned. This creates a dangerous attachment cycle. The more they withdraw, the more you chase resolution. The more they return, the more you deepen trust. This push and pull creates chemical bonding, not emotional clarity. You end up valuing their presence because their absence hurt you. Your repeated disappointment is not evidence of bad luck. It is evidence that your trust system is built on emotion instead of evaluation. You trust from the heart first and observe from the mind later. But by the time your mind wakes up, your heart has already invested. Psychological protection requires reversing this order. Observe first, trust later. Evaluate first, attach later. Question first, open later. People who deserve trust will stay consistent even when you slow the pace. People who do not deserve trust will get frustrated when you stop offering instant access. Their reaction becomes the test becomes the filter becomes your new protection. So the real mystery unfolds here. What happens when your emotional triggers stop responding to early kindness, and someone realizes they cannot enter your life without proving who they truly are? You think trust protects connection, but unexamined trust only protects the intentions of others. You assume people value your honesty, but many value the access your honesty gives them. You believe openness makes relationships stronger, but to selfish minds it makes boundaries weaker. Your trust often activates before your awareness does. The human brain seeks patterns that reduce effort, even if accuracy is lost. If someone shows small signs of warmth, your mind fills in the missing details. It creates a complete personality based on fragments, not facts. Dark psychology calls this cognitive completion. Your mind does not like gaps, so it invents goodness where none exists. It assumes positive intention, because positive intention feels safer than uncertainty. But invented safety is the most dangerous form of safety. Your trust also follows emotional speed, not emotional depth. Fast attention feels intense, so you treat it as meaningful. Quick connection feels special, so you treat it as rare. But intensity is not depth, and speed is not sincerity. Machiavelli once expressed an idea like this: people reveal their nature slowly but hide it quickly. Anyone who demands your trust early does not want you to see their slow truth. True integrity does not rush. False integrity cannot afford patience. This is why the wrong people hurry, while the right people remain calm. Manipulators exploit something called perceived transparency. You believe you can read people well because you read your own feelings well. You mistake your accuracy with yourself as accuracy with others. Bandura once implied this too. People evaluate others using their own patterns, not objective cues. This creates a psychological trap. You assume someone with warm behavior has a warm intention. You assume someone with confident tone has stable values. You assume someone who listens carefully has deep respect. These assumptions become the foundation of misplaced trust. Your trust becomes automatic, not earned. Automatic trust turns you into a predictable target. Predictable targets require minimal effort to influence. Minimal effort invites repeated disappointment. You rarely notice the role of emotional scarcity. When you are hungry for stability, even crumbs feel like a feast. When you crave respect, even politeness feels like loyalty. Your standards shrink when your emotional needs expand. Manipulators sense this shrinking instantly. They offer just enough attention to activate your hope. They provide just enough reassurance to quiet your doubts. They give just enough consistency to keep you emotionally invested. Your trust deepens with every small dose they deliver. Your mind tells you they care, look at the good moments. But good moments are not proof, they are bait. Consistency in behavior, not occasional kindness, reveals intention. You also confuse vulnerability with closeness. Sharing personal details feels like building a bond. But bond only exists when both sides share responsibly. If you share and they only receive, you create a one-sided trust structure. And one-sided structures collapse the moment pressure arrives. Dark psychology reveals another mechanism, selective honesty. A manipulator tells you one private detail early. You assume honesty means purity. But it was not vulnerability, it was a calculated key. They share just enough to unlock your deeper trust. Once your trust unlocks, they gain emotional influence. They can shift your mood, your tolerance, and your expectations. You adjust your boundaries based on their reactions. They adjust their behavior based on your weakness points. This is not a relationship, it is a psychological system. One side scans, the other side reveals. One side tests, the other side forgives. One side strategizes, the other side hopes. Each disappointment you face is not a random outcome. It is a predictable result of entering this system unprepared. You bring honesty, they bring tactics. You bring openness, they bring observation. You bring trust, they bring evaluation. The cycle repeats because you never change the entry rules. You allow people inside before you understand their intention. And once they are inside, removing them feels heavier than keeping them. Your desire for emotional peace becomes the reason for emotional chaos. But a silent shift begins when you recognize this pattern. You realize trust is not a gift, it is a contract. And contracts require proof, effort, and consistency. When trust becomes conditional instead of automatic, everything changes. So here is the next unsettling question. What happens when your caution becomes stronger than their performance, and someone realizes their quick tactics no longer unlock your deeper loyalty? You think trusting slowly makes you difficult, but it actually makes you accurate. You fear people will leave if you test their consistency, but only the wrong ones fail these tests. You believe doubt destroys connection, but blind trust destroys you first. Your mind has a hidden bias called emotional projection. You project your sincerity onto others because sincerity is your default setting. You assume others feel guilt the way you feel guilt or care the way you care. But projection blinds you to those who treat trust as a tool, not a value. Dark psychology explains another mechanism called expectation filling. People study your emotional needs and then fill them just enough to gain access. They do not become what you need, they imitate what you need. The imitation feels real because it fits the gaps you never learned to guard. Machiavelli once suggested something similar. If someone mirrors your desires perfectly, they are studying you, not connecting with you. True alignment appears in behavior over time, not in sudden perfection. Perfection is performance, consistency is character. You underestimate how much your trust shapes your identity. You see yourself as loyal, patient, forgiving, hopeful. These are beautiful traits when directed wisely, but destructive when given everywhere. Loyalty without evaluation becomes self-betrayal. Patience without boundaries becomes emotional waste. Forgiveness without accountability becomes repeated exploitation. Bandura once implied that people behave according to learned outcomes. If your forgiveness has no consequences, people learn that hurting you has no cost. If your trust remains after repeated disrespect, people learn that access to you is permanent. Your reactions teach others far more than your words. You often trust because you fear being wrong about someone. But being wrong early is safer than being destroyed later. Your fear of misjudgment makes you ignore clear signs. You call it giving chances, but it is actually avoiding the truth. Your trust becomes a shield against loneliness. Loneliness feels heavy, so you accept company that is light but harmful. You think a flawed connection is better than an empty space. But an empty space can be filled with better people, harmful connections cannot. Another hidden pattern is emotional inflation. Someone gives you small kindness, and your mind inflates it into rare loyalty. They show small effort, and you inflate it into deep care. This inflation convinces you they matter more than they actually do. You create emotional value they never earned. Manipulators exploit this instantly. They deliver small doses of affection to keep you in a cycle of gratitude. They let you believe these moments define their true nature. You hold on to the peak moments while ignoring the consistent lows. Trust becomes a memory-based decision instead of present-time evaluation. You keep trusting who they were, not who they are. You keep holding on to the emotional highlight reel they created. These moments become psychological anchors, keeping you tied to disappointment. You also underestimate the danger of selective consistency. A manipulator can be consistent in small things and chaotic in important things. They reply on time, but never show real accountability. They act supportive, but disappear when responsibility appears. Their consistency is superficial, not structural. Your trust attaches to the superficial consistency because it gives the illusion of stability. Illusions feel safe when you are tired of emotional storms. But illusions always collapse under the weight of real expectations. To understand why trust hurts you repeatedly, look at your internal rulebook. You trust first to be liked. You open up early to feel connected. You forgive quickly to avoid conflict. You hope endlessly to avoid silence. These rules keep you trapped in cycles you never consciously agreed to. You need a new psychological rulebook. Trust must be gradual, not instant. Vulnerability must be mutual, not one-sided. Forgiveness must be selective, not guaranteed. Access to you must be earned, not gifted. When your rulebook changes, people must reveal their real intentions. Some will step up. Some will step back. Some will disappear. Their reaction becomes your truth. And here is the twist you are not prepared for. What happens when your rising standards expose the people who only stayed because your low boundaries made their life easier? You think raising your standards will isolate you, but it actually isolates the wrong people first. You fear stronger boundaries will make you hard, but they only make your vision clear. You believe trust must be unconditional, but unconditional trust destroys its own meaning. Your transformation begins when you stop trusting based on emotion and start trusting based on evidence. This shift feels uncomfortable because your old programming resists it. Your mind whispers, what if they think you are distant? What if they think you are difficult? But emotional survival requires discomfort, not approval. Dark psychology describes something called trust recalibration. It means your brain must relearn when to open, when to pause, and when to refuse. Right now your brain opens quickly, pauses rarely, and refuses almost never. This imbalance makes you easy to approach, but hard to respect. When you recalibrate, your trust becomes structured. You watch behavior over time, instead of believing signals in the moment. You evaluate consistency, instead of reacting to intensity. You rely on patterns, not on promises. This shift alone filters out half of the people who once drained you. Machiavelli once conveyed an idea like this: power belongs to those who control access, not those who give it freely. Your emotional power grows when access to you becomes intentional, not accidental. When trust becomes selective, your presence becomes valuable. Value always rises when it is protected. Bandura's ideas support the same truth from another angle. Behavior changes when consequences change. When people realize you no longer reward inconsistency with forgiveness, they adjust. When they see you no longer respond to emotional bait with attachment, they step carefully. Your reactions set the rules of engagement. Their behavior follows those rules. Once you stop giving unlimited chances, people behave differently. Those who relied on your softness feel exposed. Those who relied on your silence feel threatened. Those who relied on your loyalty feel uncomfortable. They were not attached to you, they were attached to the benefits of you. And this is where most people break, because losing familiar faces feels like losing stability. But familiarity is not loyalty. Comfort is not commitment. Knowing someone for long does not mean they deserve long-term access. Your mind struggles because it confuses emotional history with emotional value. You think, I cannot pull away, I shared so much with them. But sharing does not equal deserving. You shared as a reflection of your nature, not their worth. Here the deepest psychological twist appears. Trust should not be used to build identity. You are not good because you trust easily. You are good because you choose wisely. You are not kind because you forgive endlessly. You are kind because you understand limits. You are not pure because you tolerate pain. You are pure because you stop feeding it. Manipulators lose power the moment you detach your identity from being endlessly trusting. The moment you stop seeing trust as your moral responsibility, people can no longer weaponize your goodness. The moment you stop seeing boundaries as cruelty, people can no longer guilt you into lowering them. You begin to understand another secret of dark psychology. Value is created by scarcity and maintained by standards. When you trust less, your value rises. When you reveal less, your mystery grows. When you give less instantly, your presence becomes meaningful. The right minds recognize this immediately. They respect your pace. They honor your boundaries. They offer consistency without pressure. They wait instead of demanding. They show alignment instead of performing it. You will notice that genuine people never rush trust. They understand that trust built slowly lasts longer. They understand that sincerity revealed gradually is more genuine. They understand that depth is not created by speed, but by stability. And then something unexpected happens inside you. You stop craving emotional shortcuts. You stop chasing early validation. You stop interpreting attention as commitment. You begin to prefer silence over confusion, distance over instability, and self-respect over approval. You become harder to access, but easier to understand. You become calmer in your decisions and sharper in your evaluations. Your mind stops running toward everyone and finally starts returning home to itself. You realize trust is not your weakness. Untested trust was your downfall. The disappointment you faced repeatedly was not a curse. It was a pattern, a predictable pattern created by instant emotional openness and delayed emotional evaluation. But now the pattern is breaking. You are no longer impressed by sudden affection. You are no longer swayed by temporary consistency. You are no longer fooled by emotional intensity. You read behavior over time, not emotions in the moment. Trust becomes a staircase, not a doorway. Each step must be earned with evidence, not words. Each level requires clarity, not intensity. Each advancement requires consistency, not performance. Your heart learns patience. Your mind learns discipline. Your soul learns self-protection. And the cycle finally reverses. The more cautious you become, the clearer everything feels. The more selective you become, the safer everything becomes. The more disciplined your trust becomes, the more stable your connections become. You now understand a truth few people ever reach. Disappointment does not come from trusting, it comes from trusting without strategy. Trust is not meant to be thrown into the crowd. It is meant to be filtered through behavior, time, honesty, and alignment. You lose nothing by being careful. You only lose those who expected easy access to your emotional world. So now a final question rises from the center of your transformation, a question you cannot avoid anymore, a question that decides your entire future. When someone approaches you next, will you trust from old programming, or will you trust from the strength you finally built?